You're just outside Hambledon, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. Andrew Wallace, as you know him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very, very fortunate where I am. I have been thinking about it in terms of Lord of the Rings, and I am in the Shire. I am literally in the Shire, and so there's a strange sort of disconnect that happens for me at this point in time. So I'm here in this beautiful countryside with a little stream outside and flowers and trees and no aeroplanes, very few cars. I just saw a sparrow in my garden. I haven't seen a sparrow in my garden for a really long time. But I know that out there, in Mordor, there's very horrible, nasty things are happening, and people are suffering, and there are a lot of people and a lot of pain and grief. But it feels slightly removed from where I am. It's a strange situation.
I suppose with Hambledon, I was thinking there because you're only you would be on Heathrow's flight path, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Geography, I was thinking geographically,
Yeah, and in the the turning circle they hold above where I am. They hold all around London, but you hear them, and I hadn't really realised how how many airplanes there were in the sky until there stopped being airplanes in the sky, and now I'm like, well, it's really made me think about why do I take airplanes? Like what am I doing?
questioning.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has really made me think about that and whether or not to do that. So that's something for me in the future I'm really going to be looking at. How much do I really, having enjoyed the piece of it, and not just the piece of it, I imagine the air is much clearer. So
Indeed.
having really enjoyed that, I don't know how I don't think I want to go back to that again.
Yeah.
So that's part of what I've been thinking.
More time with the sparrows in the garden.
All the time with the sparrows, and then I've driven to go and get supplies and stuff to my mum, who lives relatively near me, about 20 minutes away, and put some stuff on her doorstep for her because she's isolating because she's sick. And I drove down the local high street and thought, what do all these shops sell? What do they actually sell? What have we all been buying from them? Because I haven't missed not going to the shops. I haven't missed buying stuff. I mean, you can buy stuff online if you want to, but it's really extraordinary.
Just the doors just closed, didn't it? It is. It's remarkable, and we're all in it. We're all in this same situation, and so many people are going through it and don't know they're going through it.
Yes. Yes, I think a sense of I think people feel quite reassured that everyone's going through it. So rather than it feeling it's just me,
Mhm.
that's not allowed to do this, or it's just me that's suffering. Everyone's in the same boat, as it were. And I think for lots of people that's quite reassuring.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on this morning. And my agenda was really just to have a chat, have a blether, just not not anything more than that, really, and talk a bit about you. So there's Lucy Cavendish, the ex-journalist. You were the Daily Mail. You're a mother. Since we last saw each other, which was probably 7 years ago, I'm guessing.
Was it that long ago? Was it 7 years ago?
That was 7 years ago.
Wow.
Six. That was 6 years
Yeah,
ago.
that's a yeah.
Six
That's a
years
long
ago.
time.
So
That's
you're
gone
now,
quickly.
so ex-journalist, all these labels, mother. You're a wife now,
I am a wife now, yeah, mother,
and
wife, former journalist.
former journalist, and you've had a 360-degree, but it's not a 360-degree career change in some regards. So you're now a fully qualified counsellor, psychotherapist, and you're working with clients now.
Yes, yeah, I do. I work with a lot of clients.
So
Yeah, so I've been doing that for I think 3 years now.
enjoying it.
Well, people ask me, am I enjoying it? And I'm not quite sure what the answer to that is. Because I don't want to enjoy other people's sort of pain, but there's lots of things about the job that I do really enjoy.
Supporting people in their pain.
Yes, I enjoy seeing the effects of change, even if they're very small. Um, I've heard more things than I ever knew existed. I feel my a bit, my version of what humans do and don't do has expanded massively. With people sharing their lives with me, which feels like an incredible privilege to be trusted to enter into someone else's world and
Isn't it?
hear what's going on for them.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, I've learned so much. People have extraordinary things happen to them. Things that you just can't believe. That, I mean, forget when people write novels and people say, "Where do you get your ideas from?" I mean, it's not made up. It's because people live it.
Absolutely.
People do extraordinary things, but also I think what's amazing is people's kind of resilience and inner hope. The hope of humans to survive generally, to keep going, to find something that is meaningful to them, that makes them want to, well, it doesn't make them necessarily want to get up in the morning, but at least it makes them stay on the planet. If you have clients that are suicidal or are thinking about that.
And I'm wondering what your thought is. I mean, for me, I think a lot about there's two pandemics going on right now. There's a pandemic that's very in the forefront, which is the coronavirus, but there's an anxiety pandemic that's a subsequent reaction to the pandemic that's going on behind the scenes, if you like, behind the wall.
Yes.
And I'm wondering how you think the similarities are between people's personal journey into looking for something else and what's going on today. What's the similarity between that?
Well, I think there's been some interesting reactions. So I had some clients who became very anxious very early on, at a time when most people, including myself, were being a bit kind of like, oh well, it's a bit of a flu, being quite kind of,
Me too.
well, we'll be okay, and some people get ill, and that's really bad. And I was being not blasé, but I didn't go immediately into anxiety and panic. I was kind of like, okay. But some people went into anxiety and serious panic very, very, very early on, or what I would consider to be very early on, and sort of shut down and bolted the doors and were, very internally absolutely terrified. And actually those clients now are the ones that have slightly come out the other side, because I think they felt this, this real sense of thanatos, this fear of death, is that I am going to get sick and I am going to die. And there's so I think it's the anxiety about the unknown. You don't know where this virus is, you don't know what form it takes, it's like a shapeshifter. You don't know if it's on that park bench, and that's very makes people very anxious. What I sort of believe, and I also feel this about life post virus, whatever form that might take, because we don't really know what post virus means. So for example, there's all sorts of analogies we could make. I mean, there will be no post virus, in the sense that the virus is now within us and it's on the planet and it's here, in the same way that many other viruses are, like flu and colds and stuff. So to a certain extent, it probably won't ever not be with us. It just may not be, killing us in the amount that it's doing. But I was thinking about this a lot, and part of me felt that in order to survive, we have to adapt. That's the main thing. If we're very, very rigid in how we see things, we're going to get incredibly anxious, and the anxiety then, because I've been doing a lot of body psychotherapy, triggers our bodies, and then we're much, much weaker. So I've been doing a lot of work on getting people actually stronger and feeling stronger in their bodies, so that they can sort of survive the anxiety and have a sense of how they're going to cope with that anxiety and panic. And part of that is working a lot with the body. So I think one of the effects of this will be that people, I think, will be a lot more aware of their health. I mean, deeply aware of their health, not just sort of like I'm going to go and do a run, but deeply aware of how they live, what they eat, what they do, how they actually treat their bodies. I think that might be one of the effects in a deeper way than the sort of fitness regime, but in actually connecting with what's happening with their bodies and how we become healthier and more resilient. And not that I'm saying that people who have died haven't been resilient, that would be really unfair. And I don't like that analogy of fighters and not fighters. I think that is utterly shaming, people are dying this not because they're weak and haven't fought. I don't like that, but I think there'll be a much deeper connection with how we treat
our bodies. Yeah. And you said you're working with people to get them stronger, but the paradox of that is what we believe to be strength is now actually flexibility. So you're teaching people to be stronger, which is actually, the mindset of strength is to be very rigid, stiff upper lip, and we'll brace this and we'll get through this, and we're very rigid. But in actual fact, strength comes from vulnerability and flexibility. So when we're working with clients to help them access strength, what we're really saying, I think, is we're working with people to access vulnerability and flexibility.
But I also think part of it is how do we adapt? So one of my sons, right, my kids are fine, but one of my sons who's very sociable and likes to go to the gym and blah, blah, is finding it difficult. And we were talking about this. He's 17 and he's missing his friend. He's been great. He's here at home. He's doing what he should be doing. He's not going out and, but I was talking about part of it is exactly that. Part of it is in order to be able to cope with this is actually it's people who are more flexible and adaptable and able to be less rigid, who are able to sort of go with it, not go with being ill, but go with this idea of things are changing and that's
surrender to the psychology, surrender to their inner world.
Yeah, I mean it's things are changing and some things are going to change for the better and some things may not. And it may be in a year's time, it feels like nothing's changed at all. Humans have this incredible ability, which is good and bad at the same time, to go back to, precisely where they were. That we all are going to be nicer to the planet, we're going to be nicer, and we're going to care about old people, and we're going to be connected in our communities, and we're going to, make sure that Mrs. Bloggs 3 doors down, age 90, actually does have visitors rather than she sits there feeling lonely for the entire rest of her years on the planet. Whether or not that's going to happen, I'm not sure. That sounds cynical and a bit down.
Do you think that people can go back to how they were? They may think they've went back to how they were, but if you and I spoke very, very briefly before we went live, and where I would like what I'm looking for out of the people that I'm going to be interviewing over the next few weeks is life after lockdown. And you very rightly said we can't. It's very difficult to see that what that's going to look like. And I'm wondering, how do we position ourselves in a market that we don't know where the cards are going to fall? The cards have all been brought in, they've been thrown up in the air. We've got no way of knowing where they're going to fall, but we know that they're going to fall.
Yeah, we do know that they're going to fall, but part of that is about adaptability. You know this, Ross. Part of it is being fine with the not knowing.
Of course.
I'm very clear with my clients, and I think this is part of the work, which is I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know, and I'm okay with that, right? Okay. But for a lot of people, the not knowing is really, really hard and really difficult.
So for those that are listening, that they're finding it difficult to be with the not knowing, what would you suggest?
Well, I mean, part of I think the problem is no one knows how long lockdown's going to be.
Yep.
No one knows what not being in lockdown might entail, whether it's going to be a partial thing or not. And look, let's see, if lockdown's another 3 weeks, we'll have only been in lockdown for 6 weeks. In the history of the world, that's like a tiny little nanosecond. And so people come out of the doors and restaurants will open and bars will open and capitalist society will continue. People will need to go back to work to make money, to pay taxes. Kids will go back to school. There'll be a sort of upsurge of sort of optimism and joy and hugging, and it's so great to see you. And people get on airplanes and go on holidays and get in the sea and go and eat pasta. And there may be a little bit of hugging of Italians and Spanish people saying, "How are you? How was it for you? Wasn't that awful?" And then everything will carry on. The rest, some people, some businesses will have closed, and that will be very difficult. I think the undercurrent of that sort of optimistic surge of great that we can all connect again and go and get a frappuccino. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, hang on. I'm going to move myself. I can hear noises happening in my house. And I think there are a lot of people who will hit terrible financial hardship, and
Of course.
That's the undercurrent. That will be the very difficult part. Is that so? There'll be that initial surge of optimistic rush of happiness, and then I think there will be, lots of pubs will shut, lots of restaurants will shut, lots of businesses will go under. A lot of people will be financially struggling, and I think that's the second wave when the reality hits of how lots of people will have austerity.
And that thing, only the strong survive, but it's not necessarily the strong that survive, it's the most adaptable, it's the adaptogens that survive rather than the strong.
Sorry, but hedge fund managers survive. There are people out there now who will be making a fortune on stocks and shares and betting. There's a whole strata of people for whom this is just an opportunity to basically make more money, right? I'm not one of them. You're not one of them. And I don't know much about that world, but there's always people that manage to make money in a crisis, and there'll be a lot of people for whom this is going to be a real struggle. And I also think, I think there are conflicting forces that are going on. So I think right now, I think on one level there's a lot of community spirit. So there's connection. I think it's the connection disconnection thing. I think there's a lot of.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the connection disconnection. What's your understanding of connection?
My personal understanding of connection and my connection.
I'm getting myself comfy for this. Give me a second. I'm getting my little legs crossed.
Well, it's
what does connection mean for you?
Connection. Well, I feel connection for me means that I feel that I have a sort of love and an understanding for another human being who also has that love and understanding for me, or at least we try to have that feeling of I know you and I get you and I'm here for you. But having said that, I feel very connected to nature. So, I kind of feel quite connected to quite a few trees. I feel quite connected to, animals and things like that. So I think it's the thing that passes between yourself and something else, whatever that thing is. And it's also that feeling of wanting to do good for somebody, wanting to be there for somebody. That, they've got your back and you've got their back. And that we're all, there's a connection between all of us. I connected that person and that links me to there's a link of connection. And obviously there's all sorts of versions. There's physical, spiritual, mental connection.
Talk about the spiritual.
Well, spiritual connection is would be I'm very fortunate that I live in a very beautiful place, and it feels like a very blessed place to live, and I walk a lot, and when I'm walking and I'm out in the forest, I feel very at peace and I feel very connected to something. I can't tell you what that is because I don't know, and I don't need to know, but I'm fine with the not knowing thing, okay? I don't need to know what that thing is.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, I don't need to, and when people say, what is it? I don't know what it is. But
no idea.
No, but if that's what I feel, if that works for me, that's fine. You know, that's absolutely fine. It's a peaceful, loving, munificent, beneficent thing. You know, not passive, but very loving, very loving,
So
and very
love and connection. So when we speak,
loving, kind. You know, honest, knowing. That the thing that I don't know what it is. It's very knowing. You know.
so connection and love.
Yeah, and I find a lot of peace in that.
Yeah, serenity.
Yeah, so I think, okay, well, this is what's happening, and this is what I have to go with, and this is, my learning from it. The disconnection. So I find there's a lot of connection around let's all help each other and let's be good to each other and let's be kind. The disconnection is let's all rat on our neighbours because their friend came over, or or let's shout at people who are coming to where we are to walk. There's a lot of anger, but I think the anger masks the fear.
Exactly, the territorial, the
It's very
territorial.
territorial, and it's brought up
Very
stuff which in England, I'm a Remainer. Okay, that's probably a no-brainer. I think was brought out very much around Brexit, and it got very, very nasty.
Tell me more.
Well, I think I think within all of us is a perfectly nasty human being that could have rip heads off, and
Yes.
people say I wouldn't ever kill anyone. If someone came
Oh,
to my house
please.
and children, I'd gouge his eyes out with a knife. I'm very honest
Absolutely.
about it. Sorry. I don't think.
Absolutely. The shadows within us all.
Yeah, I mean, just to let anyone know if they're thinking of coming here, I've got a nasty, vicious, murderous insides, like most people. And I think if it's allowed to come out, if people say, it's like in Yugoslavia, and people say, oh, it's okay to go and murder your next door neighbours and, kill their children and rape their wives. They're like, oh, great, off I go. I've always wanted to do that, really. And now I'm allowed to. I think if you put a veneer of it's okay to be nasty and vicious, a lot of people rise to the challenge, and I can that's happening now, and that really worries me. And it actually has turned on teenagers. There's a feeling that young people are bad and aren't behaving and doing bad things, and I think there's always been a sort of envy in the old of the young.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
So, my daughter who's 12 was walking our 3 dogs, which is quite a lot for a 12-year-old, doing a pretty good job in the fields. And one of our very friendly rescue dogs went to talk to a woman, and she started screaming at my daughter, "Go away, your dog's got the plague," screaming at her. And my daughter came home in tears. And that is totally, I couldn't get my head around that. This woman is screaming at a 12-year-old. So I can get my head around that, but I find that really difficult.
Pre-lockdown, people had the ability to lock down the shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can't lock down the shadow because
they can't lock it down now. It's opened, and the shadow's starting to come up, and the feelings that we've been keeping down by work, by places, by people, by things, by distractions.
By cycling, by drinking, eating, taking drugs, all the things we do to stop ourselves from feeling desperately scared and frightened of the other.
That nasty, murderous part that's in us. And as you well know, that when you deny something, you give it power, and we've been denying that dark, ravenous part of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's actually been running the show. So we've denied it, and at the background there's been the shadow, and the shadow's been getting projected onto the reality, and that's what's been running the show. And now that door's been opened up, and that shadow's coming up in so many people. So so many people that I'm talking to, those that are in recovery, clients that I'm having. Somebody was 2 people in the same week from different parts of Scotland told me that they were having fantasies of robbing, pillaging, stealing.
It's all very, that makes me think about films. Yes, it's all very, I'm going to come into the village and burn your houses and rape your women and take your toilet rolls, your loo rolls.
Yeah.
your dried pasta. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to walk into the supermarket, I'm going to fill my basket, and I'm going to walk out.
Yes, I mean, so really, it's a very important thing to acknowledge that. The problem is because it's very difficult for people to acknowledge that. It's very difficult to say, I want to come in literally like old style. You know, like what's that Mel Gibson film set in Scotland where they go around raping and pillaging everybody? You know, the English, obviously, or whoever, I can't remember. I mean, it's a very sort of, well, basic sort of fantasy, but it's. So there's two forces, which is the connection, which is I want to help you and let me do your shopping. And of course, I'll come over and stand outside your house and wave at you and make sure you're alive. And then there's the disconnection, which is actually I'm terrified and I'm frightened and now I'm angry and now I want to kill teenagers, you know, because they're virus spreaders. And not only that, they're allowed to live, you know, because the mythology around the virus is it doesn't attack young people, which isn't actually true. But there are less fatalities because they're young and healthy. Their internal bodies are 16 years old, not 85. Of course, they survive it better. They haven't done 85 years. You know, my mum's 85. She's got an 85-year-old heart. She's got an 85-year-old set of lungs. Of course, she's vulnerable. Why wouldn't she be vulnerable? You know. So there's this thing of, well, young people survive it. And I think there's a huge, huge envy there. But, you know, how is
Back
it
to the jealousy, back to the jealousy of the teenage, the laughter in the corridors as we walk past, and our forgotten youth, and our secret craving to go back there, but can't allow to go back there because we've created so many constructs to be an adult. And you know, we're jealous of the youth, we're jealous of the teenagers, and we're now jealous of the fact that they can survive this and we can't.
Yes, yeah. And so part of it is, you know, well, I don't know. I think we're also quite an infantilized society, actually. I keep looking out my window and seeing people cycling and, you know, in a kind of quite teenagery sort of a way. I think actually indulging ourselves in fun and play is a good thing. I think that's very helpful. But I think the other thing, which is of course really major and very difficult, is to really work on how we feel about death. Sorry, everybody, no one likes to think about that. You know, the people who I found are the most anxious are the people who are absolutely terrified of death. That sounds a bit simplistic, but what I mean is their attachment to living,
Correct.
is so huge, it's
Yes.
so overwhelmingly huge. You know, does that make sense? That there's a sort of
100%.
attachment to being alive.
Or attachment to the external material, egonic world that we've placed so much meaning
Yeah,
on, and our ego is starting to die. So metaphorically, in a lot of way, for people that have placed the meaning on the job, the car, the Rolex, the watch, well, they've got nowhere to wear it to,
that's
right?
right.
So in
And
a kind of metaphorical sense, the ego is beginning to die, and nobody likes that.
yes, and so, you know, I'm not stuff because the stuff I have is around me in nature and it's internal in my body, and I'm also very fortunate that I'm here with my 4 kids and we all have we have a really great family. You know, we get on, we have fun, you know, we're not we're not a troubled family, you know. We all have a really nice time together, so like we're having a lovely time, you know.
I'm sure that doesn't come for free, though, Lucy. I'm sure that doesn't come for free. That you just snapped your finger and you have this
No, I've
beautiful
been very
family.
good at it.
You've had to work,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you've done your work.
I have worked very hard on it, but part of it, no one likes this either. It's part of it is that I'm just incredibly, I just let them be who they are. You know, I don't tell them how to be and what to do. Why haven't you got an A grade? And da, 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 da. I see all my children have talents. I see my children are great. I think they're really lovely human beings. They're trustworthy, decent, honest, kind. You know, great. I don't really care what they get at their GCSEs, but I do care about how they are as human beings. And
Absolutely. We've placed so much meaning on the outer, haven't we? We've placed so
yeah,
much meaning in the external, the GSEs.
you know, I don't care about that. But I do care that they find what they want to do. You know, people do jobs they don't want to do. They spend their entire lives doing jobs they don't want to do. What a total waste of time. You know, go do something you do want to do.
So
Go
are we
find,
now talking? Are we now talking post-corona that living from the heart, maybe like a fantasy that I have is that what I would wish for humanity is that we started to lead from the heart rather than from those things. Find what it is that we really love, what we really like, what really floats our boat, and that money and the Range Rovers and the Rolexes and the stuff just does not matter, because life's so short and so precious.
It is. And that's the other thing, I think. You know, I'm 53, okay? So I know which way I'm going, right?
Actually, I'm not, are you? That must make me 47. Oh no.
So I'm over halfway. I know which way I'm going. I'm going towards, you know, my end eventually. That's where I'm going, and that's okay. You know, and I've said to the kids, if something happens to me and I don't survive this, I'm up there in the trees. You just go up there, you'll be fine. Go up there, have a sit, have a cry, sit on that tree we all sit on, and there I'll be. Don't worry about it. You know, this is how it is. But then I have spiritual belief, so I feel okay. You know, so I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm not anxious. I'm not, you know, worried. I'm not worried. I work a lot with my clients when they say things like, I really want to do this, but I can't. And then we work through what the can'ts are. So I say, I hear you've got a mortgage and all this. Yeah, but maybe you want to paint. How might we bring that in a little bit? So that you do a little bit of what you want. No one's saying, you know, oh my goodness, I've had a revelation. I'm going to sell my house if I can, you know, and I'm going to go and live in a yurt in Monmouthshire, right? You know, but if what you've discovered during this is there's a different way you want to live and you don't quite know how to do it yet, that's fine. Of course you don't know how to do it yet. We've all been living this way for a long time. Why would you know? But what you could do is do a little bit. Do it, you know, get a paintbrush, get some paints, do a little bit. 1 day a week, half an hour a week, 1 minute a week. Just
I see so many. What is it? If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always had. And I'm seeing people that are just still drinking, still putting up pictures, having a session in the garden, drinking ching ching, and it's like, well, you were doing that before the coronavirus. Nothing's really changing, and if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. So let's not complain about it.
yes. Yeah, I mean, if you want change, you know,
Do the
interestingly,
work.
I don't drink at all because my body just doesn't like it. It just doesn't like it. It just goes toxic, you know. So I'm very into people listening to what their bodies are saying. If your body is saying to you, actually, I'm not really enjoying having a glass of wine, then don't have a glass of wine. Or think about what the glass of wine means. Can you sit in the back garden and have something else? I don't know. I'm very into sort of what people really slowing down and listening to what's going on in their bodies. When I say to people every morning, I check in, okay, what's happening? Da, da, da. They're like, that's weird. I'm like, well, not really. You know, I check in with it all. What's happening? You know, I know now that I'm a bit achy, so something's going on. So I think I'm fine, but underneath it all, I think other stuff's going on. I feel probably I'm a bit more disturbed by what's happening than mentally I've recognised.
But that only comes through a recognition of connecting to the body, connecting to something other than the 100 miles an hour, or indeed the old scripts and schemas that's running the show. And then we transition up to here, we have a little thing, and then we're able to drop down mindfully at the body and see what's going on in there. But people have been running these old scripts and schemas and living an unconscious patterning for so long that the pause button, pause, stop.
Yeah, and this is a pause button, potentially. The problem is you're bombarded by things to do on the internet, so it's not really a pause button. Now people are getting upset because they think, oh no, I didn't learn to play the guitar or speak, you know, Serbo-Croatian. So, yeah, why didn't you do that? Why haven't you done this?
And that's wonderful. That's a wonderful place to just. I took up half an hour of your Saturday morning. It's infringed in your day, and it's been an absolute. It's been great. I cannot believe it's been 6 years. I really cannot believe it's been 6 years since I saw you last.
Crazy. We have to do this again.
I'd love to. I would. Just let me know when you want to have a blether.
A blether. Yeah, it's great. A blether online, and I can
blether
see
online.
Quite exciting.
Thank you. I really bless. I feel so grateful you decided to come on and say hello this morning. And it's great to hear where you are. And I do follow you on Facebook. You're never far away. I have a wee nose like a creep, like a little peeping Tom. I peep in and go, what's she up to now? What's she doing?
I see you. I see you daily. I like daily with your talking while you're walking. Oh no, I know exactly. You know, I feel I know a lot about you. It's weird.
Goodness. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day, Lucy. God bless. All my best to you. Thanks very much. I really appreciate it. You take care.
Take care.
Bye now. Bye.